always want to like bounce in my seat while that's going.
I actually can attest to the fact that she does bounce in her seat. Welcome. There are two little holiday elves here. Elf 1 from North Carolina and Elf 2 from New Jersey. And we are here to share some holiday cheer and also to talk a little bit about some things that are coming up in 2023 so you can get excited about some of the things that Laura has cooked up for the new year. Laura, you're cooking.
I am. I'm super excited. I'm looking outside my window right now and it's gray skies. We're like under this major winter advisory, which I think most of the United States is under this weekend. How's your weather in New Jersey?
It's only supposed to rain here, but adult children are not always the most reliable or predictable. So I say this with love, but I think we will be seeing one kid and her husband, and she's got a new human who's arriving in March 3rd. So the three of them are supposed to be arriving from Western Mass. And then I think my other daughter is coming from Boston. So, and my wife is sick. So the weather's stormy in all sorts of ways. So I think my weekend is going to be kind of unpredictable. How about you?
Yeah. We're under like, they're talking, it's once in a generation event down here, which we're supposed to get rain. We might get snow, but it's the wind chill. So we're about an hour and a half away from Galax, Virginia, and they're saying it's going to be like -20 wind chill factor up there. That's just not anything that we're prepared for down here in the South.
Well, and that's because I actually my parents lived for 29 years in Greensboro, right near where Laura lives. And the thing that gets people in your neck of the woods is ice. And power outages.
And that's the big concern right now for sure. Is the ice, and the potential. And of course, today, if you haven't done it yet, you better get to the store and get your milk and bread. So that's the thing. But enough about the weather. I am so excited about what we've got cooked up for 2023. And Joan, we've been doing this member survey. It's over. We had a tremendous response.
Oh my gosh. We are so happy. We're so happy that we had, and our gift cards went to the most interesting and diverse mix of members and some OGs and some brand new people. And it's just been fun to be in the lab all week, kind of promoting the survey. And then I saw Lana from DC, who was in Washingtonian Magazine. It's like some great things are happening to our members. And I hope that for those of you who won gift cards, that it adds just a little bit of holiday cheer for you and yours. But we are, so we will be evaluating the survey results starting in January. There's so much good, juicy stuff to comb through. But in the meantime, Laura has cooked up a new, would we call it a new product, a new experience,
and the cool thing is there were a number of members who responded that the boot camps are a bit much for them. And they just need something that's not quite as much work. So we're not getting rid of the boot camps. Don't even think that's going to happen. But we actually have a new type of cohort learning experience that we're going to be introducing in the first one's going to be in February, and it's called a lab trek. And the lab trek is going to be different than a boot camp in that there's not really homework, not a lot of homework. It's up to each instructor what they do, but it's a much lighter lift, and it's actually going to be held on Zoom. So you'll have one Zoom about an hour long each week it could be a guest expert, or it could be someone from our teaching staff. Like Dan Oshiak is going to do one on branding, and and it's an opportunity to be in the room with Dan, hearing what he has to say about branding from certain different perspectives. He'll refer you to content, and then he'll answer your questions about how to apply it to your own organization. But Dan is not our first guest. Our first guest is Kashana Palmer, and she's our guest. And I'm calling them guides, like a trek, like a guide on a trek.
I like that.
That just makes it works. And Joan, you want to talk about Kashana's trek that she's going to be doing for us in February?
Yeah. So Kashana, as you're watching this, you may remember that we actually had a very lively expert seminar last year with Kashana talking about managing multi-generational teams. And that's just one of a whole list of topics that Kashana is well versed to speak on, and can get all fired up and enthusiastic about sharing with you. So we asked Kashana if she would be a guide for our first trek in January. And she will join us beginning in February, the first week of February. These are things you will register for, like a boot camp. And she's going to be talking about self-care. One of the words that we're starting to use, Laura and I, as we're thinking about the philosophy of the lab, is kind of this personal transformation. How do you as a leader personally transform from, the person who has hair that looks like this, right? To to a person who actually kind of has it going on, that maybe gets
has hair that looks like this.
Yeah, right, like that too. That gets home in time for dinner, doesn't miss parent-teacher nights, that maybe takes a yoga class, right? Is how do you actually transform from the kind of leader you are today to the kind of leader you need to be for an organization that's built to last?
Yes.
And so Kashana is going to be talking about self-care. And I can't think of a better topic for the new year, right?
Yeah. And boundaries too. And just, at this time of year, a lot of us are thinking about maybe you do resolutions, right? Your New Year's resolution is to do some of the stuff that Joan said, maybe take a yoga class, or maybe, spend more time with your family, or less time with your family. No, but
I laughed too hard at that one, actually.
Some people do resolutions. Other people, I stopped doing resolutions a number of years ago and started just picking one word. So there's a one word group of us who, you pick your word, and that's your theme for the whole year. And a lot of us, though, the goals underneath it all are about better time management, better boundaries, taking care of myself, making sure that I'm around. I don't want to burn out. This organization is too important for me to burn out, right? And that's what the trek is going to be. And that starts in February. And for those watching, you can just save the date and time now. It's going to be every Tuesday in February at 10 o'clock Eastern in the morning on Zoom with Kashana. And that's it. And if you go through and you attend all 4 weeks, you get a certificate of completion from the lab. It's going to be digital. It's not going to be like the one we do in boot camp, because that's a much longer, more intense experience. But we are going to provide you with a digital certificate of completion for every trek that we offer. And we're hoping to offer at least 3 or 4 of them next year on different topics, and you can pick and choose. So we're really excited to be able to offer that for you. And then, Joan, we have something, gosh, I've had this actually on the calendar since about September last year or this year.
Yeah, totally.
You and Lindsay.
So it's funny because we recorded it way ahead of when we were way ahead instead of at the last minute, which is unusual for both of us. Well, one of the things I just want to say about the trek is it's our hope to do more of them, and some of it will ride on, sort of how successful and how people like this first one. So, the more folks who join us as part of that trek, the more we'll know that we're on the right path with the trek. So I said there's no better topic for the beginning of the year than personal care, self-care, boundaries, personal transformation. The only other better topic for the new year um, is where are you headed? Building that destination for your organization that people are compelled to talk about, that people want to go, a destination people are like, I want to go there. I want to go with you. I want to volunteer. I want to be a board member. I want to be a donor. Right. And that's what we call strategic visioning, building that vision that you rally people around so that you build a bigger army of the engaged, build more capacity, more visibility, more people. Um, and Lindsay and I developed a strategic visioning process that is essentially rooted in the work of Jim Collins. And it's interesting. Speaking of Jim Collins, so I have Jim Collins on my podcast, and I have Adam Grant on my podcast, and I have BJ Fogg on my podcast. But who is the single most popular guest on my podcast last year? It was Lindsay Hoffman, because this topic is so important to nonprofit leaders to get right. And Lindsay and I we're not geeks for loving strategy work. It's not fair to put a little bit. It's not fair to put people who like strategy into the geek category. And it's also not. I'm going to tell you, you can't just say, "Hey, I got to do a strategic plan." That this masterclass, a video masterclass, I think it has like somewhere between 7 and 9 episodes, and they're usually for new members. They're usually under 15 minutes. There are downloadable templates that come with it. So our master classes are real signature pieces of content. They can be shared with your board at a board meeting. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ways to use them. But we're going to share not only just our enthusiasm for it, we're going to share really to help you understand why it's so important. We're going to talk about strategy and not planning. Right? This is not how to build a work plan. And there's 2 parts to this engagement, right? So the first part is the new content will go live in January, which is the perfect time to be thinking about strategy work with your staff and board. And then the cliffhanger, that says a cliffhanger if there's a part 2, right? So the cliffhanger is that Lindsay and I come back in sometime in February, early February, I guess.
February 1st.
Early February. And we get in conversation with both the 2 of us, as well as with those folks who show up. Is this also on Zoom as well? Or is it going to be a StreamYard thing?
We haven't set it up yet. So I think that we can do it either way, Joan, whichever way you want.
Yeah, so I think Zoom might be fun because what the object of the game is to actually have an engagement opportunity with folks who have seen the masterclass. We can actually take a little bit more time than we might normally, than a Q&A, for example, and deep dive into some of the issues that you're having. So the part 1 is the launch of the masterclass, which will go live in January, and then part 2 on February 1st. Lindsay Hoffman and I will do our thing together to talk about the value, the importance, the compelling nature of strategy work. And you will be sold by the time we're done. I guarantee you.
So, Joan, I know that you have a meeting coming up, and this was kind of an impromptu thing for us to come live, but we didn't want to let the year end without giving you at least a little bit of heads up on what we've got planned for 2023. So again, we've got a brand new type of content called a trek. We're still going to have the daily drip. We're still going to have expert seminars periodically throughout the year. We are still going to have our 3 boot camps and possibly adding in a couple more that are going to be a much lighter lift. But Devin, I see your comment. I feel you. And I know that it's really hard to come in as a new ED and dive into a boot camp. So the treks are going to be perfect for you. And
Well, and
I
also
hope you'll make time to do that.
we're going to look at the member survey about topics that are
For
that
sure.
bubble up. If it's, I wouldn't be surprised. We have so many new EDs, Devin, that I wouldn't be surprised if you'd find yourself in a trek for new EDs.
Yeah, that may already be on the plan, actually. So
It might very well be.
we're excited to be able to continue serving you into the new year. We're excited that we can kind of start putting the past 3 years behind us and move on. And it's our honor to serve you. And we thank you for filling out the survey. If you didn't get a chance to fill out the survey, but you have something on your mind that you want to share with us, just send an email to support at Nonprofit Leadership Lab.
I don't think they've closed and locked the door on the surveys. I don't think so. I'm not sure, totally sure.
Okay.
And if we have you might not have the bit.ly link. Actually.
I don't.
That's okay. But actually, it's right at the top of the village, so you can find it. And I think you probably still have a few more minutes before Katie shuts the door and starts to analyze the data.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
in the meantime,
but if you're watching this later, all I'm saying is if you have something on your mind and you didn't get a chance to fill out the survey, that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. We totally still want to hear from you. So please just send an email to support. You can, in your email, just say, give this to Laura or give it to Joan, and we'll make sure that it gets, routed the right way so that we can make sure to include your comments in our planning for 2023. Joan, thank you so much for joining me from New Jersey.
This is not product placement. I am raising my Diet Coke to all of you. Happy holidays. We look forward to seeing you in January and in February. And we're going to be, giving you a better sense of what's coming along so that you can mark your calendar as we go through the year. I think that will, that'll help you. It also helps us for planning purposes as well. So happy holidays.
Well. Thank you.
Hope you get a time to breathe and spend some time with those who those you hold dear. So off we go.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year.
Take good care.
Bye.